The Transformers as a brand is owned by Hasbro, but the concept of a toy that transforms is not. Every year there are different toy brands that tackle the transformation gimmick, and in this video I'm going to talk about a bunch of them. What's good, internet? Jake here. Dumb as ever, and about a year ago I started my series on Transformers that are not Transformers. I was recently watching the original video and realized how bad it is. I will always love the video and appreciate it for what it did for my channel, but I wanted to remake it and recover the topics now that I have so much more experience making these types of videos. If you've watched that original, I hope you stick around for this new, much more enjoyable version with a ton of new research and info, and if you enjoyed this video and want even more Transformers content, I have a whole playlist dedicated to it. And please like and subscribe to help me out with the king of YouTube, R.E.V.s. In 1978, the final LEGO patent expired, meaning any company can make LEGO-style brick toys. One of the companies was called R.E.V.s Holdings, who created large building blocks for younger children called Mega Bloks in 1985. This wasn't a market that LEGO was tackling, so Mega Bloks was capitalizing on a completely different demographic. R.E.V.s did eventually dip into smaller LEGO-style products and promptly got sued by LEGO. R.E.V.s actually won the lawsuit though because of LEGO's expired patents. Eventually, the R.E.V.s Holdings name was changed to Mega Bloks as the toys became more and more popular. Let's fast forward a bit. LEGO and Mega Bloks battled in the toy aisle for many years, with Mega Bloks having its own unique innovations like the Dragons line that combined action figures and building toys, and super articulated minifigures. LEGO was also innovating, with their new theme Bionicle being a smash hit. So much so, it's often credited with saving the company from bankruptcy. Mega Bloks obviously noticed the success, and in 2008 offered their own line of construction figures called Neo Shifters. Neo Shifters were very similar to Bionicle, being built out of large, specialized pieces. These toys had a few gimmicks, but their main one was the ability to transform into a
ball.
I mean, obviously I'm reminded by Bo-Rock in this instance, though the Neo Shifter's ball form is implied to be a simple spaceship. It kinda reminds me of the Bayverse protoforms. The second big gimmick is the small robots that transform into an even smaller ball form and can plug into the larger robot's chest. I can't tell if the smaller robot is like a pilot or like an R2-D2 style buddy. I feel like the commercial implies both robots are sentient, but who knows. So these robot figures are neat, but it's a bit of a copy and paste situation with the sets, which is exactly like Bionicle, so fair enough, I see the logic. Lore-wise, the only thing I could find is this comic book, thanks to Miss Morta Nui on the TTV channel forums that posted about Neo Shifters and linked this comic book. The lore in this comic book is kinda wild. Apparently, on this planet called Hydrax, the aliens that live there made leaps and bounds in technology thanks to a water-based power source. So these aliens just sent out hella satellites, like a stupid number of satellites. I don't really know why, they just did. Besides the satellites, they were also working on an artificial viral life form, which gets launched into space and intermingles with the satellites and water-based power source and accidentally creates new life on another planet where all this crap lands for some reason. These new life forms called Neos use large robot shells called shifters to get around and also synthesize energy out of water. The planet that the Neos landed on runs out of water, so an evil subset of Neo Shifters called Templars go to Hydrax to take all their water and be really wasteful with it, I guess. The Neo Shifters that stay behind are the Paladins, and they resolve to stop the Templars from attacking Hydrax or any other planet. The comic ends with the Paladins sending a distress signal that reaches the worst alien species of all, gamers. All of this lore is a bit silly and really overcomplicated, but it did answer my question from earlier, as it appears the little robot does pilot the big robot, but the big robot is also the small robot in a way. It's kind of like if humans could take out their hearts and run around as the heart. The toys themselves were pretty cool, but unfortunately the plastic quality is poor and the toys often break. Something completely new I found out while researching is that there were also vehicle sets for the Neos, like this quad pod or the Turbo Fly, which is my favorite looking one. I love these vehicles and they remind me of the later waves of Bionicle that had large vehicle sets. Also, there was the whole Hydrax playset featuring this dome-shaped set where you could store shifters in. The set had little seats for Neos to sit in and a bunch of spheres that would roll around the set. Also, is that just deadass a Zammer sphere launcher? And isn't that a Rotuka spinner? And isn't that Takua? Yeah, Neo shifters definitely had a lot, maybe a little too much Bionicle influence. But it really didn't feel like a ripoff and totally has its own charm. Sadly, the same year Neo shifters launched, 2008, Megablox somehow lost $400 million, which isn't great. After passing hands a few times, Megablox now exists as Mattel's building brick line called Mega Constructs. I wouldn't be surprised if we never saw Neo shifters again, but it was a cool line nonetheless. Chinese toy company 52 Toys has been making a name for themselves in the last few years with their incredible BeastBOX line. BeastBOX is a line of transforming toys that feature animals that transform into, well, boxes. Yeah, all these guys just transform into cubes, which feels a little silly to say out loud. But the thing about BeastBOX is that while the alt mode of being a cube is simple, the transformation from the cube into beast mode is always interesting, and each animal offers clever solutions to the puzzle that is their transformation. BeastBOX has a great aesthetic, with cartoony animals mixed with Zoids. I love the use of translucent plastic as well. I'm just a sucker for that stuff thanks to Transformers Energon. I own a few BeastBOX figures, one of which being Echo Blaster, who is a parrot. This dude has so much personality, and the way his wings work is awesome. You're able to get so many good poses, which can be a struggle with bird types of toys sometimes. I absolutely adore the translucent blue plastic this guy uses. It reminds me of PS2 controllers from back in the day. Most BeastBOX toys come with this clear little box you can store your BeastBOX in. Echo Blaster actually came with an extra piece that lets you stand him on top of the cube, which is really nice. The transformation is a little tough to remember, but once he's all put together, he makes for a fine cube. Finally, Minecraft Transformer. As far as BeastBOX goes, Echo Blaster is pretty standard, but there are some truly interesting transformations like Ice Cube. Ice Cube is a cube that transforms into 4 individual penguin robots, each with a card suit assigned to it, which is very cute and could be a reference to 52 Toys itself because there are 52 cards in a deck. Not only is one cube made out of 4 penguins, they can also change their pupils so all of your penguins have individual personalities. There are so many BeastBOX toys at this point, and they all look so cool. Another crazy release is their Alien collab figure, which not only features a xenomorph, but also comes with a face hugger, and not only that, it also comes with an egg that has a chest burster in it. They somehow fit every form of the xenomorph into a single toy. I'm legit flabbergasted, and also they all fit together in cube form, which is so awesome. But BeastBOX isn't the only thing 52 Toys has been cooking. They also made 2 spin-off series called Infinity Box and Beast Drive. Infinity Box is very similar to BeastBOX, with the main difference being the type of things the cubes turn into. There are still plenty of creatures, but they tend to be mythical Chinese creatures, like this dope turtle with the snake for a tail. Infinity Box also has cubes that turn into vehicles like planes and race cars. I love this giant motorcycle vehicle. I feel like this would be a dope alt mode for Blur or Cheetor. I also really like the Formula 1 car that's sporting 6 wheels. These 2 cars can combine into a pretty awkward looking robot, plus they still turn into boxes. Thank God. What I'm super interested in though is Beast Drive, which is a line of toys that features animals that turn into vehicles. In my opinion, this line is easily their most interesting and feels like a natural evolution of BeastBOX. Beast Drive has only been around for a bit, so we can actually talk about all of the toys, starting with the first release, Wheel Raptor, a sports car that turns into a Raptor. Every Beast Drive figure comes with an adorable pilot figure, which I love. Wheel Raptor was repainted and remolded into a purple version called Naughty Soar, which I bought. While BeastBOX toys come complete in package, Beast Drive actually requires some model kit style assembly. Don't worry, this isn't a full model kit. It's more like decorating the skeleton of the toy, which makes sense and makes me kind of surprised there aren't even more repaints. It would be pretty easy for them to do that. I bought Naughty Soar because I liked his purple purple and orange color scheme, and I low-key just realized he might be called Naughty-Sore as a reference to Halloween. The build experience was fine, and I like that I was able to attach all the pieces without fully transforming the kit. I do think you should probably have a pair of cutters ready, because snapping the pieces out by hand left a lot of plastic blemishes on the figure. Once completed, the vehicle mode is surprisingly small, but he looks really cool and rolls really well, which always makes me happy. I think it's really cool that there's barely any dinosaur kibble as well. Really, it's only his arms and head that are identifiable dinosaur pieces. I absolutely love the little dinosaur pilot he comes with as well. It really inspires my imagination. Like, maybe this is a Metabots or a Real Steel situation where robots are operators in sports in the place of humans. The transformation is simple, but not too simple. It makes for a fun fidget toy that isn't too much of a hassle to transform. The dinosaur mode is just pure aura, man. Holding him and messing with him is just super fun. The only things I would have liked are an ankle tilt and maybe a longer tail. Like, it's an okay length, but I would have liked a couple more segments to the tail articulation. I also really love how the car wheels end up on his feet, so you can kind of have him roller skate, which I always like. Overall, this figure is super fun and awesome, and I may have accidentally gotten myself addicted to another toy line. If you want to see my full unboxing and first impressions of the toy, I posted a members only video for the $1 tier members and above. Memberships are easily the best way to support me past subscribing, and I've been posting a lot of toy hauls and also uploading gaming videos and unboxings like this, so if any of that interests you, check it out. The next Beast Drive figure that was released is Hydro Bullet, a jet that transforms into a shark. The pilot is, of course, a fat little shark. So adorable. Hydro Bullet was repainted and remolded into a hammerhead shark version called Abyss Sweeper. As you can see, there's obviously a pattern to these releases, with each kit being sold twice with different pieces. The next is Space Springer and Skytail, who are spaceships that turn into a rabbit and squirrel respectively. The vehicle mode reminds me a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy spaceship. I have to say it's super impressive to me how different they can make these toys, like how they gave Skytail a whole big squirrel tail, something not present at all on the rabbit. The most recent set of normal size figures are Drive Tyranno and Lightning Lizard. Drive Tyranno is very obviously meant to be a pterodactyl type of dinosaur that turns into a sports car, while Lightning Lizard looks more like a dragon of some kind. Out of the two, I really vibe with Lightning Lizard's look and color scheme. He just jumps out to me way more. The final Beast Drive figure is a truck that turns into a massive gorilla called Cyclops. The reason I bought Naughty-Sore is because I wanted to buy Cyclops so bad, but couldn't quite justify dropping $70 out of nowhere. But god, he looks amazing. As a Transformers fan, it's very funny to me that he is a truck that turns into a gorilla. Because when Beast Wars came out, the fans of the original show were so mad about the fact that Optimus turned into a gorilla instead of a truck that they would complain about it constantly online. Other fans were annoyed by this trend and started mocking the G1ers with the phrase "truck not monkey" as a way to make fun of their complaints. So all these years later, having a truck and a monkey in one toy is pretty funny, and it really helps that this toy looks amazing. The truck mode is huge and can house a Beast Drive vehicle in its trailer with room to spare. You can also remove the trailer and just have a big old truck cab. Gorilla mode is just as amazing and looks so imposing and awesome. I love the color choices of the dull teal and the orangish yellow. The gorilla mode is highly posable as well, and his trailer turns into these giant jackhammer weapons. I also love his head sculpt with the one giant eye. He kinda reminds me of a Zaku from Gundam. It would be so cool if they made a tank that turns into a giant T-Rex as his rival. Beast Drive is a young line, so I definitely recommend grabbing some of these figures now because I don't see 5.2 toys slowing down on the line anytime soon. BeastBOX, Infinity Box, and Beast Drive are all excellent toy lines, and I'm glad we have a company like 5.2 Toys around that keeps on innovating on the transforming toy genre. Believe it or not, I only watched the original Jurassic Park trilogy for the first time a couple years ago. Until then, the only Jurassic Park media I had seen was the Jurassic World movies, and for some reason Jurassic Park 3. I have no idea why, but I always felt like Jurassic Park 3 was playing on TV, but not the first or second movie. Anyways, while a Jurassic Park video is on my list, because what on earth is this, I wanted to talk about a subline of JP toys that inspired me to create a video in the first place, Fierce Changers. Released in late 2023, Fierce Changers is a line of transforming dinosaur toys, which I always think is a good idea. The toy line came in 3 size classes, with these little eggs called Hidden Hatchers being the smallest. I honestly think dinosaur eggs that turn into little adorable baby dinosaurs is kind of a slam dunk idea. Even this little abomination gets to be adorable as a hidden hatcher. This line seemed to do the best out of the 3 I'm going to talk about today, since it has the most releases. They even did a line where an eye is printed on the outside of the egg to simulate the baby dinosaur peeking out of its egg. The look of these dinosaurs really reminds me of the Snap Squad, a line of figures that feature little baby Funko Pop dinosaurs with really tight jaw hinges that you could attach to your backpack and stuff. I think Snap Squad was a great little line, and I'm kinda sad I missed it. And the Hidden Hatchers using a similar aesthetic is awesome. Oh wait, I did exactly 1 more second of research and found out that the Snap Squad is back, kind of, in the form of Mighty Little Biters. I feel like Snap Squad was a better name personally, but look, they made a Spinosaurus. I will be purchasing this. My favorite Hidden Hatchers are the Indoraptor because I am one of its 12 fans, and the Paralophosaurus because I like his silly head. It's also nice to see Giganotosaurus show up. I love the way all of their torso pieces spin around and reveal the spine of the dino. I guess my main criticism of Hidden Hatchers is that they all have the same transformation. I kinda wish they ventured out of theropods and gave us some ceratopsians or pterosaurs. The next toys are called Double Dangers and have a gimmick of switching from a herbivore dinosaur to a carnivore. There's 2 sizes of these guys. The smaller one is close in size to the basic Jurassic World figures, while the larger ones are closer to a medium-sized dinosaur. Mattel doesn't have size classes like Transformers. I'm doing my best, okay? Though different sizes, the transformation for these toys are all basically the same, with you flipping one head out of the body while storing the other head. Basically every transformation is flipping the dinosaur upside down. These are definitely my least favorite Jurassic Park Transformers. It's a decent idea, a good one even, but the transformations are so mid, and both dinosaur modes tend to look weird. The bigger ones have like 2 extra steps generally, but the increase in size and price does not directly translate to increase in complexity. I do like this evil looking Brachiosaurus though. It makes me kinda wish they made an evil hybrid herbivore like a Triceratops or something. I guess Therizinosaurus is kinda like a herbivore villain dinosaur, but they fumbled that in the movie in my opinion. The last transforming Jurassic Park toy I want to talk about is the Chase and Roar T-Rex, a large Tyrannosaurus Rex toy that can transform into a dinky Jurassic Park Jeep. I'm going to be so for real, this thing is rough, man. Let's talk dinosaur because oh my god, no way. Look at that leg kibble, man. The T-Rex is practically standing on it for balance. And by the way, this T-Rex has seen some shit before. I guess your bones crunching down into a Jeep does some stuff to your mental health. The transformation is so panel heavy. If you're not a Transformers fan, a Transformer with a lot of panels for their transformation can make it really annoying. Some can do it tastefully like Origin Wheeljack here, and this Jeep Rex is a prime example of how to do a panel heavy transformation completely wrong. The entire transformation is folding panels over dinosaur parts, which is not only boring but can be super frustrating when you have to line up and connect a ton of panels, creating less of a puzzle and more of a fiddly mess. The Jeep mode is much worse and very goofy looking with a much too small hood and wheels. Thanks to the transformation, the Jeep doesn't even seem to be that solid, even though it's a big giant truck, which should be fun. Overall, I think the Fierce Changers line is a really interesting experiment, and I kinda want them to keep working at the Hidden Hatchers line because I think those toys have the most potential. Digimon, Digital Monster, Digimon were dope as hell, man. I mean, they still are, but they were too. For those who don't know, Digimon started out as V-Pets, just like Tamagotchi, but were marketed towards boys with dragon and dinosaur monsters instead of silly cute ones. Though there are hella cute Digimon. As a kid, I watched season 2 and 3 the most because of my age, and brother, that show was fire. I never watched season 1 much as a kid, but Lord Almighty, Digimon the movie was all I needed to love those characters in Digimon. I've probably watched Digimon the movie 4 gazillion times, and even bought the VHS as an adult to relive my childhood nostalgia. Though, to be honest, I kinda never stopped watching it because it was free on YouTube for many years. Recently though, it's been harder to watch on YouTube because they did a whole remake dealio, which I also own. Unfortunately, I don't own a Blu-ray player, so I can't really watch the new version at the moment. I was hoping it would come with a digital version, but that sadly isn't the case. So as a kid, I didn't even know Digimon were originally V-Pets. I just knew them from the movie, my Digimon video game, and the toys. Digimon toys were so sick back in the day because they transformed. To my kid self, these toys really are the OG Transformers that are not Transformers. I was like, is this allowed? Now, these are pretty old toys, so the engineering isn't always amazing. I found that Digimon who make less of a change tend to be the better toys, like this Greymon to Metal Greymon toy. It's actually so impressive how the metal pieces come out, and I especially love that Greymon's original tail becomes Metal Greymon's wings. And there's a second secret tail revealed during the transformation. Also, quick note, Metal Greymon is easily my favorite OG Digimon design. The metal helmet and arm, the sick purple wings, and I've always found him growing hair to be oddly cool. I also always loved how their voices and sometimes personalities would change when they digivolved. Like Greymon would all of a sudden become British or Australian when he became Metal Greymon. Most of these figures have a bit of an Animorphs problem, where you're just twisting fleshy creatures into new forms, but it's not as bad with Digimon for me personally. One toy I had as a kid was the warped Digivolving Agumon to War Greymon figure. This was a special one to me as a kid because I only had one Digimon Season 1 VHS from the show, and the episodes on it included the Warped Digivolutions, which I thought were so cool as a kid. I loved the 3D animation they used to represent the Digivolution. It's just pure 90s/2000s rawness. I'm also severely affected by Wizardmon's death because of that VHS, but we don't have to talk about that today. The Agumon to War Greymon toy is kind of incredible even by today's standards. Both modes look great. I love Agumon's big ol' head. War Greymon looks almost perfect, though one of my favorite parts of his design is the shield on his back, which looks like Agumon's big head due to transformation. The toy was so good that years later Bandai would remake it as the first figure in their Digivolving Spirits line. In 2017, Bandai would revitalize the Digivolving toy concept with their Digivolving Spirits line, starting with Agumon to War Greymon, which had some slight alterations to the original toy, but mostly keeps the same transformation scheme. I think the original Agumon looks way better, to be honest, but I think the Digivolving Spirits War Greymon looks better than the original. This makes sense to me because they were probably prioritizing the Agumon mode back in the day because he was like the flagship character, but in the modern day fandom, War Greymon is much more desired as a design. The Digivolving Spirits line is so dope, man. This toy line gave us an amazing Diaboramon figure, as well as this pretty much perfect Tentomon. I love Tentomon, man, and I love Mega Kabuterimon, a big Hercules beetle with an exposed rib cage and the personality of Hulk Hogan. Unfortunately, the line ended in 2019 with the release of Black War Greymon, so they never even finished the original Digidestined, which is unfortunate because I would have loved to see some Season 2 and 3 Digimon. Speaking of Season 3, oh my god, it's peak. Easily one of the best shows I watched as a kid, and the tone is so much darker than the first 2 seasons. It's funny that it's even considered Season 3 at all, since it appears to be set in a different universe. That would be like if I called Transformers Armada like Transformers Season 7. I love all the main Digimon in Season 3, but my favorite is Gargomon, a rabbit with Gatling guns for hands that wears pants.
Now.
He was featured heavily in the movie, and I was so happy to see they included him in Season 3 as well, and I loved his toy so much. This is definitely one of the Digimon toys that has aged poorly. Gargomon is basically carrying Rapidmon on his back, and neither mode has much articulation. Sadly, after Season 3, we got Digimon Frontiers, which is not a show I like very much. Totally cool if you like it, but when the kids became the Digimon, I thought it was pretty lame, and I much prefer the dynamic of kids and their partner Digimon. I also didn't care for many of the designs. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way Agunarmon is cooler than Agumon, Vmon, or Guilmon. The whole thing about the kids becoming Digimon is them finding these little trophies. So of course the Digivolving toys for this line turn into those. Awesome, I love when my transforming toy turns into literally nothing. They also have these hybrid Digivolving toys that featured very ugly humans that you could equip with armor. In an effort to not seem like a total hater, I will say Burning Greymon and Magna Garurumon are baller designs. After Frontiers, Digimon really fell off, especially in the toy department. The last Digimon toys on the shelves that I can actually remember are the toys for Digimon Fusion, a show I watched a bit when it came out. Honestly, I have a lot of the same issues with Fusion as I do Frontiers. They messed with the formula too much, and the fusion mechanic of the show wasn't nearly as interesting to me as just plain Digivolving. The toy line was really weak too, only lasting a single wave. These toys were really lame because you had to buy at least 2 to have any fun, because the whole gimmick is combining the toys in different ways. The combination gimmick kinda reminds me of LEGO's CCBS system, which is interesting. Unfortunately, the well for transforming toys has kind of dried up, and in general, Digimon merch and relevance in the West has also dried up, even though Japanese shows like Digimon Ghost Game continue to come out today. I do have to mention the card game, which I have played and collected cards for, because it seems like the main thing getting Western audiences into Digimon at this point. I would love to see a Digimon show brought over with a new toy line. I feel like there's still so many stories you could tell, and Digimon designs never get old to me. Like, where else can you watch a rabbit with pants and machine guns for arms fight another bigger rabbit? Nowhere! It was great to go back and redo this segment from the first video, because Digimon is one of my 3 sacred hyperfixations along with Bionicle and Transformers. I wish I could be this passionate about everything I talk about.
Dinozaurs, created by Bandai, Dinozaurs, or Dinozone in Japan, was a toy line featuring fossil-like dinosaurs as the protagonists. The toy line involved dinosaurs that transform into robot warriors, known as Dino Knights. These toys used brightly colored transparent plastic and die-cast pieces. It took me watching the cartoon to realize that all of the characters are skeletons, and the clear plastic parts are sort of filling in the skeleton itself. Speaking of the cartoon, what in the Fox Kids is this crap? Much like Beast Wars, I'm just a bit too young to have caught this on TV and really have it sink in, but if I had been older, I think I would have really been into it. It features robots and dinosaurs, duh. The plot involves the titular Dinosaurs protecting Earth's life force from the evil Dragozaurs that are trying to steal it. The concept itself is like Transformers meets Power Rangers, or Power Rangers, but it's only Megazords. The Dino Knights themselves even wear helmets that look like their dinosaur forms. The cartoon itself is pretty mid. It uses a mix of 2D anime and 3D character models for the Dino Knights and Dragozaurs, which is cool and reminds me of Transformers Energon. The toys, on the other hand, are really cool looking. The brightly colored designs are just fun to look at. They kinda remind me of those aesthetically pleasing Apple computers from the 90s. Not to go on a tangent, but I have always wanted one of those old colorful Mac laptops. Like, look how fun it looks. Comparatively, my current laptop is so boring. Bring back the funny colored VTech looking laptops now. Anyways, out of the Dinosaurs toy line, I really like Dino Brachio, who's decked out with blue transparent plastic and gold. His toy apparently came with a VHS tape, which is awesome. All me and my homies love toys that come with VHS tapes. Unfortunately, these toys have not aged super well. It seems like Bandai used a cheap plastic, and the toys are rife with joint issues and are also more at risk for breaking because clear plastic is known to be weaker and more breakable with time. The paint on the chrome sections of the toys also gets easily scuffed. I feel like these toys are pretty cool and I would like to have one someday, but given their issues, I would probably go for a new in-box dinosaur toy. Also, complete side note here, there are like barely any videos on this toy line, so if you have a collection, please post a video, please! The Dinosaurs fandom is dying, please! Matchbox Parasites. Halley's Comet passes Earth every 75 years, and this time it brought an alien infestation with it. These skinny, evil aliens can fold up and hide in America's favorite motor vehicles, surprisingly enough. Matchbox Parasites is a toy line that was released in 1985. It features very thin robots that can be transformed and hidden within the shells of Matchbox cars. Honestly, this is not the worst idea, but the execution could use some work. There's nothing super interesting about them, and you can tell they didn't put much thought into compelling character design. There's a couple fun ones, like this big ol' snake that hides in a van. I really like that the van has a little snake on the side. That's very fun. I like that. While the transformation into a hunk of plastic is a little bit lame, it's pretty cool that you could take the robot out and still have a Matchbox car to play with. I really appreciate this guy who just has a tank barrel for a nose. It's really funny how they just did not try on his alt mode. Imagine walking out to your Dodge Caravan and seeing heavy artillery sticking out of the windshield.
These guys know how to blend in.
The parasites kinda do remind me of Lego Slicers, weirdly enough. Am I the only one that's making that connection? Parasites was a fun idea, but ultimately the product was just not good enough to stand up to its competitors, who had cartoons and comic books to back up their toy lines. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Turtles count it off. Yeah, I grew up with the 2003 series, but I do like the original cartoon theme song. Ninja Turtles has probably the best theme songs for cartoons. Spider-Man's up there, though. Ooh, Spider-Man might win. The Spider-Man Unlimited theme song goes unnecessarily hard. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A bunch of turtles raised by a rat to do ninja stuff. Very recently, they announced a TMNT X Transformers collaboration officially. This guy is named Party Wallop. Party Wallop, good name. First name Party, last name Wallop. And he transforms into the Party Wagon van, the Turtle Van. The Turtle Van mode actually looks pretty perfect to me. Like, it looks just like the original cartoon. It's kind of crazy how good that looks. The robot mode is okay. I think it's got some really cool ideas, like the interchangeable masks, so you can make him any of the turtles. I also like that there's just a maskless version, so Party Wallop can be like his own character. It does kind of suck that you have to buy 4 of these guys to get a complete turtle team. From what I've read, he's meant to be $50, so that means $200 to have your whole Transformer turtle team. I'm really wondering how big he is, because $50 is a leader class size toy price. I have a feeling he's gonna be more of a Voyager class with a leader class price tag, though. You'd be surprised to find out that this is not the first transforming Ninja Turtles toy, though it is the first one that's officially a Transformer. TMNT has been experimenting with transformation type toys ever since the first series. These toys were figures of the pet turtle versions of the Ninja Turtles that could transform into the fully mutated versions from the cartoon. Folding them up into the baby turtle mode, though, kinda looks like body horror. Just stuffing their faces into their shells and rotating their arms and legs all weird. And they did these mutation toys for like every version of the TMNT. There's a 2003 version, there's the original 80s version, there's a 2012 version. So far there hasn't been a Mutant Mayhem version, but I'm waiting. Also in the 80s, they had a toy line called Road Ready Mutations, where for some reason Master Splinter could turn into the Turtle Van. These ones are scuffed. I don't like them, to be honest. The 2012 line really experimented with these transformation gimmicks. Obviously, we already talked about the pet turtle versions, but there were also versions of the turtles that would turn into vehicles, and these guys were like big, chunky transformers. Pretty simple stuff. A lot of it was automorph, spinning and flipping around type stuff. But there was also another line line, which was the turtles, but they would transform into their own weapons. It seems like they only made Mikey, Raph, and Leo because each of those turtles' weapons are 2 weapons you can hold in your hand. If there was a transforming Donatello, he would just transform into a stick. I'd buy it though. But these turtles that turn into their own weapons are pretty funny, and the weapons are decent. Like, it's not bad alt modes, to be honest. I feel like the execution could have been worse. This year, TMT's been collabing with everybody. Transformers, they got a He-Man thing, they did a Stranger Things collab a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure they did like a fighting game collab. Playmates is getting everything they can out of the TMNT. If you'd like me to talk more about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, let me know, and let me know what you want me to talk about from them. I can talk toys, cartoons. I like the TMNT a lot. Hot Wheels, Robo Wheels. Alright, we're gonna make this one quick because honestly I find these toys just pathetic. These Robo Wheels are little robot guys that can transform and hide inside the car. They're basically exactly like the Parasites now that I think about it. Hold on, my brain's processing. Now, the Robo Wheels are a little different because Hot Wheels seem to be actually trying with them, kind of. There was a cartoon about the Robo Wheels that lived on a planet that was only made of those orange Hot Wheels tracks, and then they were on Earth maybe, and there's races. It was incomprehensible. The plot of the show doesn't make any sense, like, at all. But Robo Wheels are these little robots that fold up inside the car, and you can pull them, accordion them out basically, and transform them, and they'll have parts of the cars on like their shoulders and arms, and they're kind of using the base of the car as a skateboard. You can detach the robot, which is nice, so you have like this bendy little superposable robot, and you also have the car pieces. I really did not connect the dots. This totally is just like the Parasites toy line. I already had so little to say, but here we are. I don't think the toys themselves are that terrible, just like Parasites. Like, it's a decent idea. These guys are even more boring than the Parasites though, because they seem to all be the same mold for the robot inside. Parasites, at least, they were different toys each time, right? But I mean, they're cool little robot dudes. They remind me of like generic mini-cons from Transformers Armada, but we have a much cooler Hot Wheels toy to talk about. Hot Wheels Attack Pack. This has to be one of the coolest toys I've covered on the channel so far, and it has shockingly few videos and information and content on the internet about this toy line. Hot Wheels Attack Pack was a line of toys which featured monster trucks, tanks, jets, all those types of vehicles, and these vehicles could transform into monsters. It was literally like that movie Monster Trucks that came out a few years ago. Remember that movie? Did anyone watch that? I didn't. But these toys will come to life, basically. I'm really into these two dinosaur ones, which are a tank T-Rex, obviously called Tankosaurus Rex, and a Stegosaurus military vehicle of some kind. I can't really figure that one out, but it looks awesome. And the commercial for these dinosaur toys features some wicked looking art. Like, I was so into this. Shout out to Big Bones, which is this big truck that can carry other Attack Pack trucks, and it does the wheel thing with like vampire teeth in the wheels. I'm also really into Sliminator, which is more of like a playset style for the Attack Pack. It turns into this big futuristic mixing truck, and then it transforms into a hornet style creature that can grab other creatures and bring it to a slime pit. Also, it's called the Sliminator. It sounds like a Dr. Doofenshmirtz invention. Yeah, I just can't get over these dinosaur ones. Can someone just do this idea again? Like, it's a great idea. Why are we not doing this right now to this day? This is honestly no surprise from Hot Wheels. They will literally try any gimmick with their Hot Wheels brand. So these transforming cars are not necessarily a surprise to me, but they're really awesome, and I do feel like Hot Wheels would succeed if they gave it another go and like took the best ideas. Like, these dinosaur ones are so good. The tank T-Rex is so goofy and awesome. So just like Dinosaurs, if you happen to have a sick Attack Pack collection and you've been holding out on the internet, post that to YouTube. The Attack Pack fandom is dying. Bakugan Bakumorph. Now, don't get your hopes up. I'm talking about a certain type of Bakugan product that is not actually real Bakugan. Bakumorph is this toy line that did not last very long and seems to only exist in the Gundalian Invaders era of the original Bakugan. But Bakugan Bakumorph were the classic Bakugan balls, and they were magnetic at the bottom, so they would spring open, and then you could pull the parts out and kind of turn them into an action figure. I'll tell you what, my memories made them look a lot better. Like a bunch of these toys on the list, not a lot of footage. Apparently people just did not care 15 years ago about Bakugan Bakumorph. But honestly, I thought these were cool ideas. I never had one myself. I always preferred to have like a real Bakugan toy to play the game with my friends. But these figures seem articulated well enough. I think the big issue seems to be plastic quality. Seems kind of bad. Seems like it's hard for them to stand. Some of the transformation decisions are strange. And overall, they just look kind of awkward. They give me big Digimon transforming toy vibes, where they kind of just made it work and didn't really care. There is a deep fascination, I feel like, with the robots that turn into spheres. Like, we got our Unicron, of course. We got the Darth Vader Transformer, Primus. We've got Bakugan. I've run out of examples, but you see what I mean. There's a lot of circular Transformers out there. I definitely have more to say on Bakugan as a whole. It's one of my huge childhood toys. It's definitely up there with Transformers in terms of how much time I spent thinking about it and enjoying it and playing with those toys. So if you want me to talk about more Bakugan in the future, let me know. VTech Switch Go. Okay, so I just want to say this toy line would not have made the list if so many people did not comment about it. This was maybe the most requested toy line from the comments of the last video. Me personally, given my age, I never played with these Switch and Go toys, which are transforming toys made by VTech that go from dinosaur to vehicle. And the big thing with these guys is that they have lights and sounds, some animated screens on some of the figures, and it's definitely targeted towards a younger age range. VTech in general makes stuff for younger kids. But I gotta tell you, once I started looking into this toy line, I was so impressed. I actually think these guys are so cool. First of all, the LED screens that a lot of them have feature a driver when it's in vehicle mode, and when it transforms, it'll show some angry dinosaur eyes, which I think is really fun. The transformations themselves are pretty simple, but I wouldn't say they're like too simple. Some of the bigger ones do have multi-step transformation. Kinda reminds me of like Armada stuff, or even Energon, that sort of simple transformation scheme where you can kind of tell how it's gonna work just by looking at the toy itself, but there's enough to it that it's still fun to do over and over. The vehicle design gives me some Power Rangers SPD vibes. I don't know, they just look like big old chunky vehicles, and that's the one thing I remember from that show. The lights and sounds aspect of these toys is actually interesting to me, because Transformers has all but abandoned lights and sounds. They just do not do it anymore. It would hike the price up even more than the prices have already been hiked up, and including electronics makes the toys bulkier and requires concessions to articulation, so I can definitely see why most Transformers toys don't have lights and sounds. But I gotta be honest, it's kind of seeing like these VTech dinosaur toys that come out of these eggs. You assembled them together like a Gundam model kit, and they still have lights and sounds. It's epic. They're cooking with these, man, and I'm honestly surprised that this toy line also does not have too much representation in terms of YouTube videos. Probably because a lot of Transformers fans like me just assumed they were baby toys, and they kind of are still, let's be honest, but they seem like really fun baby toys. It's kind of crazy that this toy line just snuck past me, but I'm glad I found it, and I'm thankful for everyone that commented about it, because it's definitely a toy line and I'm interested in exploring more, checking out new releases. They have one that is 3 vehicles that turn into a big T-Rex that I really, really like. Like, that's such a cool idea. So I gotta know, did you play with VTech toys when you were younger? Did you like them? Are there any favorites? Drop it down in the comments, because I want to know more about this toy line. It's just a little hard to research, given most adults don't care to catalog this stuff. The 80s is the genesis point for so many iconic toy lines that are still around to this day, like the Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Masters of the Universe. But what about the toys that didn't make as big of a splash in pop culture? One of these toy lines was called MASK, which stands for Mobile Armored Strike Command, with a K. What can I say? It was the 80s. Created in 1985 by the late great toy company Kenner, MASK consisted of 2-inch action figures that would pilot vehicles that could change form. For example, the main hero of MASK, Matt Tracker, had a vehicle called Thunderhawk that could morph from a Camaro into a gull-winged fighter jet. Going against Team MASK was Venom, which stands for Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem. They really got to the point with their bad guy name, huh? Each toy came with a removable mask which gives them special powers. For example, the main villain Miles Mayhem's mask is called Viper and lets him shoot venom at his foes. Interestingly, it seems the masks and the transforming vehicles are not connected in any way. I always assumed the masks somehow unlocked these vehicle transformations, but as far as I can tell, that doesn't seem to be the case. Mask heads, sound off in the comments, because I'm surprised by that aspect of the toy line. Also, masks having special abilities really reminds me of Bionicle. I wonder if Mask was an inspiration at all, or if that's just a coincidence. Mask is a toy line I've been really interested in for a long time because the line is just so fun. I love the transforming vehicles aspect because they went all in on the concept and made some genuinely compelling toys. My favorite Mask vehicle is the Switchblade, the vehicle of the main villain that changes from a helicopter to a jet. I don't know why, but there's something so cool about that to me. In a lot of ways, Mask combines my love for Transformers and G.I. Joe. I think it would do okay in toy markets even today, and I kinda wish Hasbro or whoever owns it would give Mask another shot. I could also totally imagine a live-action Fast and Furious type Mask movie. The indie toy company Ramen Toys has been making 6-inch versions of some of the Mask vehicles, so if any of this interests you and you don't want to collect vintage, I would check out the Ramen Toys Gullwing. Dungeons & Dragons, a game where you can be anyone and do anything, so long as it doesn't violate one of the Dungeon Master's 50 rules. I actually played D&D quite a bit as a kid. Every Friday after school, my stepdad would take me to his friend's house and I would play D&D with a bunch of grown-ass adults. I honestly started to dislike the game because it was so slow to play. The arguing about the rules, figuring out how abilities work, solving puzzles, it was just a slog for me, and I got tired of it. I also have crippling anxiety and cannot roleplay without cringing, so that doesn't help. To my surprise, D&D has exploded in popularity in the last 10 years, thanks to media like Stranger Things and online playthroughs like Critical Role. The franchise even got a movie, which I thought was pretty good, and with the movie must come merchandise, and since Hasbro literally owns Dungeons & Dragons, we were treated to a slew of new D&D action figures, Nerf guns, and Dicelings. What the heck is a Diceling? A Diceling is a 20-sided die, also known as a D20 by us dragon heads, that can transform into one of the mythical creatures from the tabletop RPG. I honestly love this idea because it feels like BeastBOX with a distinct Hasbro style, and I think they made some bangers with this line. The most reused mold is easily the dragons, which I suppose makes sense given the franchise. The dragons have impressive amounts of articulation for somewhat small figures, though because of their transformation they are mostly shell formers, and there are so many dope dragons. My faves are the red one, Thimberchad, which should be way more of a fat ass according to the movie, but I can forgive him. I respect a Ozempic king when I see one. I'm also a fan of Raycor, the black dragon. I had a black dragon miniature when I was a kid that I loved, so I've always been partial to this guy, but the olive green matched with the black just makes him look so powerful and evil. We don't don't just have dragons though, we also have the Mimic, a classic monster that pretends to be objects like treasure chests, or in this case a D20. I feel like the shaping of the Mimic does imply it's meant to be a chest mimic like the movie, but it's kind of funny that it turns into an unrelated object. We also have classics like the Owlbear and Displacer Beasts, as well as the iconic Beholder, who is probably one of the best molds in the line. Though the D&D toy line seemed to fail to capture the market, I would consider Dicelings a successful and interesting line, and I hope to see something like them again someday. Since we're discussing imagination, please join me in the theater of the mind, and imagine this if you can. Bakugan, but cars. Yes, Bakugan but cars, also known as Turning Mecard by Heathens, is a real toy line, or at least it was. Developed in South Korea by the toy company Sonokong, and sold in the US by Mattel, Mecard is about small model cars, similar to Hot Wheels, that can transform into robots called Mecardimals. Just like Bakugan, there is a game with the goal of rolling your car onto a magnetic card, which would unlock a spring-loaded transformation. I was actually a big fan of these toys when they came out, and I remember walking to Toys R Us when it was still around and finding them. I only ever purchased 2 because they were kind of a pain to find back then, but my favorite was Mirane, who would transform from a sporty white car into a unicorn-type robot. The transformations were arguably more satisfying than Bakugan, since the toys would lift up the cards and flip them over, revealing the stats. There are so many good Mecard designs, and I feel like any Bakugan fan would have a hard time denying how cool they are, even if the show and toy line is a bit of a ripoff. The South Korean company that made Mecard, Sonokong, was also the license holder of Bakugan in that region, so it was pretty clear that Mecard is based off of Bakugan, with the key difference being the car modes. Spin Master and Sega Toys, the creators of Bakugan, attempted and failed to sue Sonokong for infringing on their toy patents for Bakugan, and Spin Master also sued Mattel, who was in charge of the US release of Mecard. These lawsuits also happened to coincide with the Bakugan reboot in 2019, so Spin Master was probably on the offensive for that reason. I'm not sure how much of these lawsuits affected the toy line, but Mecard did not last long in the US, and it seems to have slowed down in South Korea as well. Personally, even though I think Mecard is biting Bakugan's style a little too obviously, I mostly think it's lame to sue competition instead of making a better product to beat it. I kinda hope Mattel gives Mecard another shot in the future, because Bakugan has been floundering for a while, and I'm sure there's many toys from the South Korean line that they can still bring over here. Hot Wheels is one of the most experimental toy brands, for better and for worse. Last video I talked about Robo Wheels and the Attack Pack toys, but many of you let me know that there was actually another transforming Hot Wheels line called Modifighters. While Robo Wheels and Attack Pack were somewhat unique takes on the concept of a transforming car, Modifighters is a true blue ripoff of Transformers, and a bad one too, featuring chubby versions of Mustangs, Escalades, and other popular cars at the time that transformed into somehow both chunky and lanky robots. There were 3 size classes of Modifighters, but they all had the same transformation scheme and looked like clones of each other. The robots also had water squirting and color shifting gimmicks. When a Modifighter got blasted with water, it would reveal battle damage, which I don't think is an awful idea. The Modifighters were based on the idea of street culture, and so the robots often had baseball caps and sneakers to represent how swagged out they were. The most interesting toys in this line to me were the smallest size, called Quick Changers, which were essentially Transformers one-step changers, meaning they could quickly change between 2 modes with the little actual transformation involved. I honestly think these things look terrible. The proportions are weird, and everything from the transformations to the gimmicks are cut and pasted to each robot, making it basically pointless to collect them. This bad quality reflected in the sales, and these things were only around for a few months. Rip to some real ones. While there have been a ton of LEGO clones over the years, I'm not sure any of them come close to the uniqueness of Spin Master's Ionix brand. The main gimmick of the Ionix building system were bricks that could transform, mostly taking the shape of the classic 2x4 LEGO brick. These weird looking building blocks could transform into people, animals, weapons, and more. Some of the bigger sets would feature larger transformable bricks with the more steps. These pieces served as the base that you would build held onto. Like Lego, Ionix featured licensed brands like How to Train Your Dragon, which featured transforming brick dragons and Vikings. They also had the Pokemon license and made sets featuring Brick Pikachu and Ash Ketchum, who looks, interesting. While the licensed brands faded away, Ionix stayed strong with their flagship brand, Tenkai Knights. Tenkai Knights is an original IP that features robotic knights who fight on a cube-shaped planet, I'm not joking, against a villain named Vilius. Good writing. The whole turning into bricks thing is vaguely a part of the lore, but doesn't seem to be a super important aspect. I had never really heard of Tenkai Knights before researching for this video, but I can see why a lot of people requested it on my previous videos. The toys themselves are interesting, but the cartoon that was made to advertise them is actually pretty good. The Tenkai Knights cartoon is a run-of-the-mill Chosen One story carried by decent voice acting and really good animation. The show is split up between 2D and 3D segments, with the 2D segments taking place on Earth and the 3D being in the Tenkai Knight world. I really like the art style for the 3D parts of the show. It reminds me a lot of that show SD Gundam Force, a cartoon I watched as a kid. While the gimmick of transforming into blocks is interesting, I can't help but feel it's a little bit pointless. Most of the characters transform and then they have other pieces like armor added onto them, so transforming back and forth seems like a bit of a chore. I think BeastBOX is proof that turning a robot into a cube is fun, but I do feel like Tenkai Knight's transformations are more of an afterthought. One of the most requested toy lines in the last video was for a series called DICE, which is another acronym that stands for DNA Integrated Cybernetic Enterprises. What does it mean? Hell if I know. DICE is a Bandai property and had an anime, a video game, and a toy line. Even though I was definitely alive and watching Cartoon Network when this show was around, I have no memory of it. It's just one of those cartoons that passed me by even though I'm sure I would have liked it. DICE is about a group of kids that roam the galaxy helping those in need and stopping crime with the help of their Power Rangers-esque guild suits and their transforming vehicles called Dino Breakers. Led by potentially the most unlikable main character ever, Jet Siegel, the team consists of a bunch of characters with one personality trait each. I only watched one episode of the anime and I absolutely hated it. The voice cast is terrible and the plot of the show is weirdly bureaucratic, with a lot of talk about insurance and neutral zones. The show does a couple things right though. Badass dinosaur designs and some legitimately good action scenes. My favorite character is easily the Phantom Knight, an anti-hero who uses a dino breaker called R.E.V.s, which is a race car with hot rod flames that turns into, you guessed it, a T-Rex. Oh, also, when DICE wants their dino breakers to transform, they'll say something like, Motoraptor, libertize! That's right, these things don't transform. They would never. They libertize. Whatever that means. Look, if you loved the show as a kid, I'm sorry for making fun of it, but I highly recommend trying to watch it again because, oh god, it is not good. Here's one thing we'll probably agree on though. The Dino Breaker toys are awesome. Since the show just used CGI versions of the toy models, the toys themselves are completely screen and scale accurate, and you could seat your Dice Knights in them with no issues. Just like the show, my favorite figure is easily R.E.V.s. He just has a striking color scheme compared to the other figures, and is quite a bit larger as well. I also like the Dimetrodon and Parasaurolophus Dino Breakers, because I think those are interesting picks over the classic Triceratops or Stegosaurus. And yes, I know Dimetrodon is not technically a dinosaur, tell that to the Dice designers 20 years ago, man. Sadly, the Dice line did not last that long in America, with the main 5 Dino Breakers and Pilots getting toys. As a result, collecting these bad boys can be pretty expensive, especially for figures in package. Maybe one day Bandai can reimagine the concept a bit, but they should also change the name because it's terrible. Terrible SEO. Can't find anything on DICE anywhere without putting DNA, Dino, whatever. For our final entry, I must talk about one of the most absurd transforming toy lines I've ever seen. We're talking about UnitRobo. a toy line by Bandai that features 2 random objects that combine to form a robot. And when I say random objects, I mean random. Apple and a lobster, burger and a bulldozer, truck and a Christmas tree? These are just a few of the completely absurd combinations this toy line has created. And while these combos are absurd and almost feel like a gag gift designed for Transformers fans, the toys themselves seem really solid and well designed. Each toy has a connection point, and when clicked together, a spring-loaded transformation happens, with a few manual bits as well to complete the look of each robot. Once in robot mode, it's actually kind of hard to tell what the 2 objects that make it up are. For instance, I would never guess a Stegosaur robot is made up of a whale and a UFO. One of the truly insane toys is this Brachiosaurus that is made up of a hot dog and an Anomalocaris, a weird-looking arthropod that is literally extinct. There's also a slight music theme running throughout the line. Every toy features those music level graphic things, and every combined creature has music notes for eyes, which is cute. Overall, I absolutely adore this cursed line of toys, and hopefully they'll become more affordable at some point. While these are cool, $35 to $50 per toy is way too much.
Man Beyond, Spectacular Spider-Man, Transformers Animated, and so many more action cartoons were on TV. Not to mention the incredible theme Cartoon Network show. At some point, TV execs must have realized that kids prefer comedy, or it's just easier to make comedy, because I swear that's what every new cartoon is now. Though it's completely possible I'm super out of touch. Let me know if there are any fire action cartoons out lately. Anyway, Teen Titans was an absolute Cartoon Network staple for me. I watched so many of the episodes so many times. Am I crazy, or did it seem like some episodes of cartoons would get replayed way more than others? Like, I'm confident I watch 95% of the show on air, but sometimes I would see a new episode I've never seen before right after the 100th viewing of that creepy ass puppet episode. My favorite character was always Cyborg. I love his blue technology pattern in his design, and I love that the tech he designs has the same patterns that he does. His friendship with Beast Boy is also a highlight to me. And I have such a soft spot for characters whose appearance is altered by their powers, and the story arc of them having to learn to accept their new selves. I rewatched some of season 1 for this video and was pleasantly reminded of one of my favorite episodes, Force of Nature. This episode features the Titans battling 2 godlike beings called Thunder and Lightning. The 2 brothers come down to Earth to cause havoc and destroy things for fun. Throughout the episode, the Titans fight the brothers, and Beast Boy slowly convinces Thunder that the destruction he and his brother are causing is wrong. Unfortunately, Beast Boy can't convince him before Slade tricks the brothers into helping him summon a fire monster to destroy the city. After seeing the destruction caused by the monster, Thunder is finally convinced to stop by Beast Boy. The brothers fight at first, but Lightning is also convinced to stop, and they work together to make rain and stop the monster. Oh, also Slade and Robin fight for the first time, and Slade's disguise is broken, and it reveals his mask under a fake face. This man is literally wearing 2 masks. That is dedication. There are so many great episodes, and the show has fantastic action. Had a toy line. The only Teen Titans toy I ever had as a kid was the comic book heroes that would come in this packaging that looks like a comic book page. It's a cool idea, but the presentation is a bit messy. Later waves of the minifigures had Build-A-Figures like the Titans Towers or their T-Sub vehicle thing. I would show you pics, but I swear I cannot find any. I distinctly remember having this pack, but I can't find any photos of the complete Titans Tower or even photos of Series 3 at all. The main toy line is made up of 4-inch action figures, which look okay, I guess. Some look better than others for sure, and the articulation is pretty strange. They have unarticulated arms, but their legs have knees and even a thigh cut. I feel like if they just added an elbow bend, these would have been really great action figures. The character selection is really impressive as well. They have a toy for pretty much any character you could want from the show. In terms of transforming toys, there are a couple Beast Boy figures that can transform, which makes perfect sense given his ability to turn into any animal. They could do a whole Animorph style line of Beast Boy transforming toys, but instead he got 2. The first being Shape-Shifting Beast Boy, which seems like a normal action figure, but he has a little cheetah head hanging off his back. He also comes with an extra cheetah back piece and transforms into this. Woof, that is a rough cheetah mode, man. Looks more like his fit for a furry convention. Beast Boy would totally be a furry, right? He's basically like King Furry. The second transforming Beast Boy is somehow even worse. Snake shifting Beast Boy splits in half to turn into a snake. It is horrifying. I take it back. We don't need a whole toy line of transforming Beast Boys. I'm good with just the two, actually. There were also transforming and combining vehicles for your figures to ride on, with most of them being made up. I remember the commercials for these and always thought they looked kind of lame. Like, the transforming and combining aspect is kind of cool, I guess. The real gem of this toy line is the T-Bot, in my opinion. The T-Bot is a combining robot made of 3 vehicles, but unlike the other combining vehicles, these are actually from the show. The vehicles are Robin's bike, the T-Sub, and Cyborg's car. I love Cyborg's car, it looks so slick, but unfortunately a figure can't ride in it due to the transformation, though there are other versions of the car that can hold figures. Cyborg's car transforms into the T-Bot's legs, the T-Sub into his body, and Robin's motorcycle into the head. I have to admit, this is way more Megazord than Transformers, but it freaking transforms, okay? It counts. The robot mode is awesome, very Japanese super robot, and he can wield the entire Titan's tower as a weapon, which is super funny. He can also replace one of his arms with a cyborg bird head, which is neat and has a punching feature. Though the mecha never appears in the cartoon, it does appear in the comics. In issue 9 of Teen Titans Go, not that one, Gizmo is on a huge crime spree and is handily whooping the Titans' asses. Cyborg enlists the help of Fix-It, a master of machines who Cyborg meets in episode 5. Fix-It upgrades Cyborg to give him some of Gizmo's tech, but Gizmo gets away and Cyborg ends up causing more damage with these upgrades than intended. After that battle, Gizmo starts wrecking the city in a giant robot using Cyborg's technology out of spite. The Titans are again defeated and Fix-It helps them upgrade their vehicles. The vehicle combines into a robot which Cyborg dubs the Titans GoBot 5? Bad name aside, the two mecha battle and ultimately destroy each other. The lesson being that fighting fire with fire doesn't always work. It's a decent tie-in comic, and I like that they adapted the show's animation style of using chibi characters sometimes. They also have these little jokes at the bottom of some of the pages, like it's a comic book popsicle stick. I believe the robot comes back in later issues, but there's like 50 issues, bro. I don't want the smoke. The T-Bot is easily one of the most interesting toys in the line, though my favorite is the large T-Sub vehicle. I always thought it looked so cool because it reminded me of the Star Wars N1 Starfighter, one of my favorite spaceship designs. They also made a T-Booster vehicle which could attach to the T-Sub, which is something I like about this toy line. So many of the toys work together. There's a lot more toys to this line, but those are the main transforming toys. I'm probably going to end up watching the rest of Teen Titans because of this video, so let me know what your favorite episode is in the comments. Also, shout out to Prime Kelly 414 who alerted me to the existence of the T-Bot, and Battle Up Saber for letting me know about the comic. Godzilla is easily the most iconic kaiju of all time, being known worldwide. I became a much bigger fan of the franchise fairly recently because I was blown away by Godzilla -1 and have really enjoyed the Godzilla and Kong MonsterVerse movies. I don't know if this is a hot take, but my least favorite MonsterVerse movie is King of the Monsters. I don't think it's a terrible movie necessarily. Trust me, as a Transformers fan, I've watched terrible movies, but I do think it's a lot of action for 2.5 hours with a really weak human plot, and the movie just begins to feel like a slog to me by the third act. Much like the Bayverse Transformers movies, I think King of the Monsters sometimes works better as YouTube clips of all the coolest scenes with the monsters. In contrast, I feel like the guy in Tyree Henry in them. I already liked him, but since his performance as Megatron in Transformers 1, I gotta say he's one of my favorite actors. Sorry, got way off topic. Hopefully you don't take my MonsterVerse opinions too seriously. It's a series I really enjoy, and I'm glad we're getting more. But I love Godzilla. From its ultra-serious, almost horror movie original movie to the superhero-esque MonsterVerse series, I just think this big stinky lizard is neat. So let's talk toys. In the interim between the two Godzilla and Kong movies, Playmates released the Titan Tech figures. This toy line only got 3 toys: Godzilla, Kong, and Rodan. Godzilla and Kong were released first, with Rodan being released later as a Target exclusive. The play pattern was pretty interesting. You would transform transform the monsters from their normal forms to a more weaponized version with rockets and knives on their knees. Of course, as we've seen with many toy lines before, transforming an organic creature can give some major body horror vibes. Like you're literally splitting Godzilla in half for most of the transformation, and pulling Kong's arms down reveals that his bone structure has been replaced with metal, meaning these MFers are not just armored up but full-on monster cyborgs. I have to imagine these cybernetic components have also upgraded Kong's ability to speak, because he bizarrely has a microphone. Like, he can speak sign language in the movie, but he doesn't talk. It's kind of funny seeing this tech version. On the other hand, it looks like he's from one of those 2000s movies where they give a monkey a job like skateboarding. Like, this Kong would definitely star in a movie called CYBERNETIC or something. Rodan is probably the best looking one, though his combat vest looks more like a Christmas sweater to me. Obviously, none of these monsters need battle equipment, except Kong, I guess. But obviously, Goji doesn't really need a little knife on his arm. But I kinda love how dumb it is. Silly ass toys like this used to be the industry standard. Another quote unquote transforming toy comes from the Godzilla x Kong toy line. The play pattern of the Titan Evolution Godzilla is peeling off the original rubbery Goji skin to reveal his new fully evolved self. Truly horrific stuff going on here. The rubber Goji skin is hilarious. Look at this man's face, dude. No thoughts in his head. Yay! The fully evolved Godzilla figure is pretty standard for the line, but he can move his arms out, which is unironically groundbreaking for this toy line. It's also really nice that the rubber Goji skin can kind of stand on its own, as derpy as it looks. Godzilla eggs. Why? I have no clue, but they exist and it's kind of epic. Naturally, the Godzilla egg is probably the best out of the ones I've seen. He just looks really good in Godzilla mode, though his egg mode is imperfect. These are like weird egg versions of BeastBOX, but have way more simple transformations. Look at this King Ghidorah egg, bruh. He's more egg than monster, and look at those hilariously small wings. Bro is not getting off the ground. One of the coolest ones is actually from the 2014 Godzilla movie. This egg turns into a Muto, the female one, I think. I'm an unapologetic fan of the Mutos. Their design is the closest thing we've ever gotten to a Cloverfield monster versus Godzilla, and their battles in the movie are amazing. Whoever pitched Godzilla vomiting his atomic breath into Muto's mouth deserves so many raises. Anyway, I love the Muto egg because it looks so unique and alien, much like the Muto itself. Another fave of mine is the Mecha Godzilla egg, because that original Mecha Godzilla design is so deliciously goofy. The egg version of him may need to lay off the Bud Light though. Before I talk about the last toys in this section, we need to discuss the GOAT, Hideki Anno. Anno created the incredibly popular
Neon Genesis Evangelion,
which had an original series, a movie, another movie, and then like 6 more movies. Evangelion is often called a deconstruction of the mecha genre, and subverts many of your expectations going into the show. I only watched it when the show came to Netflix, and I really enjoyed it. I actually liked the weird, esoteric ending of the show a bit more than the end of Evangelion movie. I still haven't watched the reboot movies. Let me know if they're worth a watch in the comments. There is hella Evangelion merch, and the franchise almost rivals Godzilla in terms of popularity. Anno would even go on to direct Shin Godzilla, a movie that truly makes Godzilla the villain again, destroying Japan and suffering as its irradiated body continuously mutates until we see its final form, which is a destructive force of nature. The movie also deals with Japan's overly bureaucratic government, with a lot of the movie being about people debating on how to deal with the problem rather than actually doing anything. This movie was such a success that Hideki Anno, who is a total nerd for all this stuff by the way, got to direct Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. I haven't seen either, and I don't really know that much about either franchise, but I'm really interested in checking them out in the near future. And this year, everything is coming full circle as he is in charge of a new Gundam series called Gundam GQUUX, or G-Quux or something, which is a goofy ass name, obviously. But goodness gracious, gracious, look at this mecha dog, it's pure fire. Anyway, the main reason I'm talking about him is because Bandai made a combiner robot out of all of Anno's creations. The toy is humorously named the Shin Japan Heroes Universe Project, despite this dude destroying like a gazillion people. The mecha is made out of Eva 01, Shin Ultraman, Shin Kamen Rider, and of course Shin Godzilla. And it looks just as insane as it sounds. The body horror aspect truly goes into overdrive as you rip Ultraman and Eva in half to form the mech's arms and legs. Shin Godzilla makes up most of the body, with his creepy ass head ending up at the center of the chest. My favorite piece is Shin Kamen Rider, who rides a bike that turns into the robot's head, but Kamen Rider himself stays on top of the head, which I think is funny. This combiner is a complete abomination, man. It's got legs that are way too long, and the head is prone to popping off of the ball joint. But I can't lie, it's pretty cool that this thing even exists. And it really seems like the type of thing only a Japanese company would do with a bunch of properties they own. For that reason, I can't help but love this cursed totem of characters from really good movies. I love talking about Godzilla, and I can't wait to talk about him again, which will be very soon. Playmates is known for their licensed toy lines like Godzilla and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but sometimes they do strike out on their own, like with their REVS line of action figures. REVS, or Radically Engineered Vehicles, is a line of transforming toys, kind of. Really, it's a line of thin robots that can fold up into these vehicle-shaped shells, and the shells are able to break apart and become armor for the robot. This is an extremely undocumented toy line. With so few videos on YouTube, it actually boggles my mind. So forgive me if this section is more of a slideshow than usual. Trust me, it won't be long. As per usual, the line is made up of two different factions despite having no lore. The Syndicates and the Mavericks, which is a play on the word Mavericks. Shout out Logan Paul. I don't know why one team has a pun name and the other doesn't, but whatever. There are 3 size classes in this line according to this Toy News International article. The first being the Scrappers, which I would say are equivalent to deluxe class Transformers. There's also the Street Strikers, which are slightly bigger cars, I guess. And finally, we have the Auto Assault class, which are much larger robots with big vehicle mode shells like SUVs. There must have been an even smaller size class also in the line, because this one, Rumble Fist, turns into a little dirt bike that's even smaller than the Scrapper size figures. I unironically like the dirt bike one the best. It's just funny how the robot guy is yoga posing into the bike mode. I don't hate these guys, I guess I'm just bored by them. They don't really do anything clever, the robot designs are boring, and the way these guys quote unquote transform is pretty lame, with it being a complete parts former. It also seems like things are a bit rickety, and when you have this many removable parts, you want your toy to be rock solid. Of course, the many different parts also means that buying these things secondhand is probably a nightmare. I really wish I had more to say on this, but there's just not much here. These guys are just kinda like a bad version of the Parasites toy line I covered in volume 2. The best compliment I can think to give is I like how big the big robot is, but besides that, I can see why this line failed and seemed to evaporate from public consciousness. Honestly, I had never even heard of this toy line, but a viewer of mine actually sent me an email about it. Since they went through the effort of typing up this email, I very much felt inclined to talk about these toys. Apologies to Liam though, I kind of hate them. If I had to choose a country to represent the concept of Transformers that are not Transformers, it would probably be South Korea. In volume 3, I discussed the Bakugan Bakumorphs toy line called Turning Mecard, which I knew about because some of the toys made it to the United States. I got several amazing comments informing me about the many transforming toy lines in South Korea, and as a result, I will be talking about at least one South Korean toy line in every Transformers that are not Transformers video from now on. I want to specifically thank KR Brickbot, who has helped me get started with my research into these subjects and has allowed me to use his footage of these toys. Check out his channel and give him a sub. He's got a ton of great videos on fantastic toy lines you've probably never even heard of before. Now, let's talk about Metal Cardbot. Metal Cardbot is a cartoon about transforming robot aliens that come to Earth as refugees when their planet is destroyed. The show and toy line were created by Sam G Entertainment, an animation studio who you might know for their work on Sonic Boom or The Miraculous Ladybug. Sam G had found previous success with their show and toy line Mini Force, which is more of a Power Rangers that are not Power Rangers situation. Metal Cardbot is about June, an elementary schooler with a Sonic-ass haircut who comes into contact with Blue Cop, a metal cardbot from the planet Machina. Machina was destroyed, so now the metal cardbots are searching the galaxy for a new home, with many of them landing on Earth. Blue Cop wants to make Earth the new home of the metal cardbots, so his goal is to get the others that are coming to Earth to fit in and respect the humans that live here. June is able to help Blue Cop because he is gifted the prophetic Metal Breath, a wristwatch type thing that can capture metal card bots and lets June control them. So I watched the first 10 episodes of the show, and I watched the Singaporean dub of it. The dub is interesting, with a terrible, terrible theme song.
Go find the cards to the end of this road. Together we'll go find them all. Shout out, go Metal Cardbot, go! The metal breath will help us do it all. Let's go, Metal Cardbot, go!
Everyone in the show has like a clear accent, and some of the performances can definitely feel like the script is being read phonetically sometimes. But honestly, I just got used to it, and the show can be unexpectedly funny sometimes because of the dub.
Oh, why is it so sweet?
By one sugar, did you mean 1 cube?
You're trying to give me diabetes, huh?
Also, June's watch slash Digivice slash Pokedex slash Omnitrix is called the Metal Breath in the show. But I believe it's actually supposed to be called Metal Brace, and the name in the show is a mistranslation. As a Transformers fan, I can't help but compare the plots. Instead of fighting a war, the metal cardbots are refugees of a lost world looking for a new home. I kinda love that. It's an interesting idea because usually Cybertron is always still around, even if the planet is a lifeless husk in some cases. Overall, based on what I've watched, the main focus of the show isn't winning a war or anything, it's rehabilitating these robots and helping them adjust to their new home. The first metal cardbot we meet besides Blue Cop is Mega Trucker, a big old dump truck that loves to dance, and attempts to boogie down with terrified humans. He's also destructive and just in general causes trouble and draws human attention, which Blue Cop wants to avoid. There's also Phoenix Fire, a metal cardbot who was revered for his firefighting ability on Machina, but develops a phobia of fire after his spaceship burns up in Earth's atmosphere. As a result, he drives around town and extinguishes even the smallest fires, like birthday candles. Each episode's conflict is usually resolved by June's allied metal cardbots battling a wild cardbot. Though Blue Cop is usually the one to do battle since he and June are the closest, Blue Cop is definitely like the Optimus Prime or Dragonoid of the show. Each metal cardbot has a special weapon. For example, Blue Cop has this giant power gauntlet with rockets, and Mega Ambler has a big old pair of scissors. I have to admit, I love this show, which is completely unexpected. Like, everything tells me I shouldn't like it, the dub is terrible, the animation style is a bit weird, and the story can feel very surface level. But man, the animation is also surprisingly awesome sometimes, and the battles can be really cool. What's even cooler is the show is directed by a Transformers fan, Seoro O. I hope I'm pronouncing that kind of correctly, who has a YouTube channel with these 2D Transformers animations that you've probably seen before. I love meeting these metal cardbots as well. Every time we get to meet a new one, it's exciting, and they do change things up, like with Shadow X. Shadow X is June's #1 hater and plays a bunch of pranks on him, and just actively attempts to ruin June's day because he views June as someone who wants to boss all the metal cardbots around. And honestly, I can't blame him. June goes around with Blue Cop, beats up metal cardbots, and then captures them with his metal brace. And when they're captured, it at least appears to me that June can command them, and in some cases, it seems like the metal cardbots can't do anything without June telling them what to do. But in June's defense, it's not like he was attempting to become the god of metal cardbots, and he is actually really good friends to the metal cardbots and seems to take the responsibility of the metal brace seriously. In my opinion, it's not really June's fault he became the metal metal cardbot Lisan Al-Gaib. The last episode I watched was a two-parter about the arrival of Heavy Iron, a huge metal cardbot that is a dangerous outlaw. Heavy Iron is like an evil version of Ultra Magnus, as he can only transform when he has the trailer for his truck mode. The metal cardbots try to stop him but are unsuccessful and almost defeated until they're saved by this mysterious metal cardbot. This show reminds me a lot of Transformers Cybertron. I think it's because of the 3D art style and the awesome transformation sequences that Transformers cartoons just don't do anymore. Okay, I probably yapped way too much about the cartoon, but it's my YouTube channel and I get to choose the hyperfixations I yap about. Anyway, let's talk toys. This is another aspect of metal cardbot that reminds me of Transformers Cybertron. The toys are nice big chunkers with simple transformations that are still fun. It feels like these types of Transformers are a rarity nowadays, though there were some nice chunky Optimus Primes for Transformers 1 that I was tempted by. The metal cardbot toys are really awesome. I love that the vehicle modes have big eyes like they're from Disney's Cars. It adds so much to the vehicle mode for me. I know the whole thing is robots in disguise, but unfortunately in their alt modes, Transformers usually lose their personality a bit. But with the big eyes, the robots can still have personality in vehicle mode. The way the Autobots are able to express themselves in vehicle mode is an aspect I love of Transformers animated. So I really dig this big eye thing on the vehicle modes, if you can't tell. Anyway, all of the metal cardbots turn into chunky vehicles and transform in a pretty simple way, though there are some interesting steps sometimes, like the way Mega Ambler's waist extends and rotates. The robot modes are fairly accurate to the show, but it's not one-to-one, and oftentimes the proportions feel off. Like, Phoenix Fire should be much bulkier than he is. The main gimmick of the metal cardbots are the actual metal cards. Every robot comes with one and a weapon that transforms into a block that can be attached to the metal card. You can also use the metal cards with the Metal Brace roleplay toy to get exclusive noises, a very Power Rangers type of toy. The weapons are pretty cool, they're made out of translucent plastic, and I like how they all transform into little cards. My favorites are Phoenix Fire's forearm mounted sledgehammer and Shadow X's gigantic ninja star. Metal Cardbot is a relatively new toy line and series, with the first series coming out in March of 2023. The show was a success and has a growing fan base, so of course Sam G released a season 2 called Metal Cardbot S in August of 2024. Now, I haven't watched any episodes of Metal Cardbot S because I think it is a direct continuation of season 1 and I haven't finished season 1 yet. If you're watching Metal Cardbot S, let me know what you think of the show. The toys for Metal Cardbot S are already an upgrade from the first series, the primary example being the differences between the two Blue Cop figures. The Metal Cardbot S version of Blue Cop is bigger, has a cleaner and more involved transformation, and has a better head sculpt. I do think the original Blue Cop's proportions are a bit better. The Metal Cardbot S Blue Cop's legs just seem a bit too long to me. The biggest difference is the metal card weapons. They have completely abandoned the translucent folding up card gimmick in favor of large painted weapons that are honestly way better. At first I wasn't super into this because I do feel like they completely lost the point of the compact transforming weapons, but look at Gigant Rex's metal card. Bro, that is not a card, that's an encyclopedia. But the metal card transforms into a gigantic dinosaur head weapon that is incredibly badass. Blue Cop's gauntlet is also way better now, and it even has finger and thumb articulation. Metal Cardbot S features primarily new characters, and my favorite new toy has to be this dude named Musclehide, a dope-ass crane vehicle that transforms into an unusually buff robot. Bro legit has a 4-pack and is repping the cow skull belt buckle like a badass. I also love the white and teal color scheme, and his asymmetrical chest pattern looks striking to me. His metal card weapon isn't a weapon at all, it's an extra pair of arms with articulated fingers. He's so awesome, dude. Maybe the coolest robot I've seen in a while. The previously mentioned Gigant Rex is also sick as hell. He's a giant truck robot like Heavy Iron, but much like the other Metal Cardbot S toys, Gigant Rex is a huge upgrade and just styles so hard on Heavy Iron. The red and yellow color scheme goes hard, and I love his dual blades and the previously mentioned giant T-Rex arm. These These toys are amazing, and my biggest issue with the series at the moment is that it is pretty difficult to get these guys in the USA. Browsing eBay, I'm only finding these toys from $40 to $100 depending on size. I don't know if SamG would ever try to bring the toy line to America. They would definitely need a new English dub to be even taken somewhat seriously, but I think the potential is there. And I do think the toys would capture a certain vibe that Hasbro's Transformers aren't doing right now, but who knows, maybe it's just a better business decision to keep them in the East. I may need to take a trip to Korea, y'all. Super Sentai is a tokusatsu show that's been running on Japanese television since 1975. Tokusatsu is a genre for movies or TV shows that use a lot of practical effects, stretching a small budget to make something that feels much bigger and better than it costs. The prime example, and the movie that invented the genre, is the first Godzilla movie from 1954, which was the first movie to use suitmation, aka a guy in a suit stomping around a miniature city. In the 70s, there was an influx of superhero shows that used tokusatsu techniques, and one of them was Super Sentai. The first two Super Sentai shows were written by a guy named Shotaro Ishinomori, who also created Kamen Rider and a very popular manga called Cyborg 009. This dude is a big deal to say the least, because he was very influential on manga and television, and the work he started 50 years ago is still going today. That brings us to today's subject, number 1 Sentai Gozyuger. This is the newest series of Super Sentai and is called an anniversary season, meaning it has a heavy emphasis on past Super Sentai shows, and I will explain exactly how that manifests in 1 second. First, I want to talk about the plot of the show. The show follows Tono Hodoro, a somewhat degenerate but good-hearted dude who just can't seem to keep a job. Tono is also a guy that doesn't have any ambition past paying rent and eating, and it seems like he gave up on dreaming as a child. The show starts off with a hilarious scene where a guy is trying to rob the convenience store Tono is working at, and Tono somehow beats this guy with a surprisingly juicy hot dog on a stick, but still gets fired despite saving the day. His coworker buys him a burger afterwards to thank Tono for saving him, and as they're discussing ambitions, a giant robot attacks. In a surprise twist, Tono's somewhat meek coworker pulls out a gauntlet and transforms into a Red Ranger, which is where the anniversary shenanigans kick in. Because Tono's coworker is not the Red Ranger of the show, in fact, his costume is from another show called Osama Sentai King Oger. Not only that, but the actor that is playing the character is actually an actor from the series before Gozyuger called Bakukage Sentai Bunbumger, and this actor played the Red Ranger in that show. The best and most annoying way I can describe this character is that he is like a variant from the MCU. He looks and sounds like the other guy, but he's a different dude and turns into a different ranger. King Oger fights off the monsters on the ground, and Tono runs in despite having no powers of his own. He gets blown up but falls through a portal where he finds a ring. The ring teleports him in front of a god being known as the Tega Sword, and the Tega Sword offers him a contract. He can have a ring and enter the battle for all the other rings, like King Oger has, and Tega Sword reveals that the person who has all the rings will be granted a wish. Tono reveals he has no wishes and gave up on them as a child, but Tega Sword sees through him and knows this must not be the case, telling him to fight to be number 1 and his dreams will be revealed to him. Tono agrees, though he basically says it's because he's unemployed and bored. Gifted with new powers, he returns to the monsters and activates his Tega Sword changer and calls down his mecha. He's able to defeat the monster and then destroys the ground troops in his Goju Wolf form. Goju Wolf's costume is so cool, man, and the fight scenes are awesome because for some of the parts they take inspiration from fighting games, and the way they mimic the movement in real life is just so cool. Goju Wolf defeats the monsters and pays his coworker back for the burger as he promised he would. As he walks away, his coworker surmises since Tono does not have a dream, he does not deserve his ring, and he attacks Tono in Ranger form. Now this is the real plot of the show. Remember what Tega Sword said about collecting all the rings? To collect them, Goju Wolf and any other Red Ranger needs to defeat another Red Ranger. So basically this season is Super Sentai Battle Royale. Now, the show is only 3 episodes in at the time of writing this, so we still don't know why the main team, the Gozyuger's rings, are unique, or why yellow, blue, black, and green rings exist, but I assume we'll find that out at some point. There's a lot more, and I skipped a lot of details, but if any Sentai heads want to drop some lore in the comments to flesh out what I'm saying, feel free. But my pitch to American fans fans that have never jumped into Super Sentai is Power Rangers Fortnite. Okay, now let's talk toys. Toys are a huge part of tokusatsu shows, and their equipment in the show often feels very toyetic. I'm pretty sure number 1 Sentai Gozyuger takes this to the next level, because in universe, when they summon the Tegasword mecha, they transform their gauntlet into the robot, so they end up holding what looks like an action figure of the actual mecha they're piloting. I think this is really funny because the actual toy and the show version look pretty much identical to me. In a rare twist of events, I actually own one of the toys I'm talking about today, because believe it or not, I won a giveaway on Twitter. Huge thanks to Razzle1337 on Twitter. The dude sent the DX Tegasword toy right away, and it took like 3 days at most to get to me, which is crazy. So I can confidently say his giveaways are legit and awesome. Go follow him and maybe you'll win something. 100% not an ad, by the way. I really did just get lucky. I actually won a Toys R Us exclusive set because they still have those in Japan, which comes with extra rings and the belt the Rangers wear in the show. There's no earthly way this belt will fit me as it's made for children, but it's a neat thing to display one of my rings in. The actual Tegasword toy is a bit small because it's made for children. My hand is fairly small and I can only fit 3 fingers into the handle. Of course, as a Super Sentai changer, a huge part of it is lights and sounds, as well as collectibles, the rings. That gives you different noises based on the different rings you put in, though a lot of them are basically the same. The Ranger helmets play their transformation song, which involves clapping your hands, which is fun, but I don't really understand thematically. For example, Gozyuger Wolf's ring sounds like this. The unique noise you get with his ring is the wolf howl, as well as his ultimate move. Maybe more, but I'm really unfamiliar with these types of toys. The alternate Ranger rings play a different jingle with sounds and catchphrases from their own shows. It also has really cool lights that change color with whatever ring you put in. To transform it into the mecha, you put in the mecha head ring, which also has unique noises. You don't technically need to use the mecha head, but it kind of looks weird with a Ranger head or an alt Ranger ring. The transformation is a bit annoying to me because the arms pop off a lot, especially the thumb on the gauntlet. This is fine because the arms are supposed to pop off for other transformations. It's just a bit annoying because you can't seamlessly transform it into gauntlet mode from robot mode. The robot mode strikes me as very plain. It just kind of looks like a normal dude robot. Since I grew up with the Power Rangers on TV, I'm way more used to mecha that are made up of a bunch of different combiners, so this guy does come off a bit plain to me in terms of design. As for the other Rangers, they have weapons that can combine with the Tegasword and create their own unique mecha. This is a cool idea, but I do have some issues with it, and maybe Super Sentai fans don't really see it this way, but I feel like you need to buy 5 Tegaswords to complete your mecha team, which would be very costly. I'm also a bit confused lore-wise, because while the other Rangers have special weapons and mechas, Gozyuger Wolf just has the plain Jane Tegasword mech, which makes me wonder if he'll get his own weapon that upgrades his mecha. Overall, while I'm not super sold on this design in particular, the toy is a lot of fun. And for me, it being both the changer and the mecha is kind of perfect because I'm just getting into Super Sentai, so it's cool to have both of those things together. If you want to see me talk more Toku stuff, I did a video on Kamen Rider Gabu, which is the sister show to number 1 Sentai Gozyuger. Tokusatsu is a very interesting world, and I look forward to exploring it further. If you'd like to join me, I have a new channel called Happy Tokusday, and that's where I'll be putting most of my Tokusatsu thoughts. It's a brand new channel with literally 1 video right now, but I can't wait to make more content for it. If you join my channel membership for $1, you can get access to the member exclusive Discord server where we will be doing Kamen Rider and Super Sentai watch parties. More info on that at the end of the video if you're interested. Now that we've discussed a baby toy line, let's discuss a real toy line for real men. Super Wings. Super Wings is a kids cartoon and toy line from South Korea that has found found success overseas here in the US. It's a super simple premise about transforming planes and other vehicles that deliver packages to kids around the world. And when I say kid show, I mean kids show, like Little Einstein's level. I was impressed by the animation. It doesn't look cheap or super ugly like Coco Melon or something, and you can tell they put effort into it. The show even has transformation sequences, which is something we don't get a lot of in Transformers cartoons these days. The main point of the show seems to be teaching kids about different places in the world, but in the 2 episodes I watched, it didn't really investigate the culture of the places they go to. They just go to the Himalayas and are like, sweet, mountains. I don't know, it's fun, but it would have been nice to actually learn something about the culture of those who live in the Himalayas.
I got my DNA test back. Turns out I'm 100% Himalayan.
The main character is Jet, and he has a very typical main character personality where he's a nice guy that's a little too cocky but means well. He travels to locations, will give a kid their package, and just hang around with them for a while, goofing around on the clock. I respect it. He'll get into a pinch and call one of his homies from Super Wings HQ to help him. He's apparently been the main character for 8 seasons, with a bunch of side characters joining him over the years. I watched what I think is the newest episode, and the Super Wings use a space station now to get to places on Earth, which seems a bit extreme to deliver packages, but okay. The episode also had villains, kind of. They're called Golden Boy and Golden Girl, and they're more like troublemakers than actual villains, though I like their F the 5-0 attitude towards the Super Wings. What authority do the Super Wings have in Iceland, huh? The designs are interesting because they have the same face in robot mode as they do vehicle mode, so they all end up with these sort of Kool-Aid Man proportions, which looked off-putting to me at first, but I warmed up to it. As a result of their design, most of the toys transform pretty much the same, with little variations between them all. There are bigger figures which are pretty accurate to the show and have decent transformations. I do think this line is really good as Baby's first Transformer, and I'm sure it shepherded in some fans into the Transformers franchise. My favorite deluxe robot is this guy who turns into a stealth bomber plane. I don't know why he turns into one, considering that's all I know this type of plane for, but it's cool regardless. Though I will say this guy called Donnie, shut up Donnie, has a little pet that functions as a target master, turning into a Gatling gun? Do the Super Wings fight people? Is there violence in the show? Please let me know in the comments, because I literally cannot watch more than the 2 episodes I watched, and you can't make me. I asked lore expert Peggy, and she just said that he keeps that thing on him, questioning her credentials at this point, to be honest. Also, where is Jet's mouth on this toy? There's also the Transformabots, which are smaller versions of the cast that can still transform. In terms of complexity, they kind of remind me of Spy Changers, just really simple little guys you can flip back and forth. The Transformabots also get vehicles and playsets to interact with since they're smaller, like this fire truck that can transform into a mech suit for Jet. And there's also an airport playset with elevators and ramps and all that good stuff. One of the cooler figures is this guy called Mini Air World Base. Catchy name. And he transforms from a helicarrier into a more traditional looking robot than the rest of the Super Wings. I dig his vibe. I think my favorite has to be Tino, who is a triple changer going from plane to robot to dinosaur. Okay, Super Wings, I wasn't familiar with your game. Put dinosaurs in anything, and I'm as happy as this kid is. Overall, I think this is a really fun line for kids, and it's quite affordable as well, at least on Amazon. It's nice that kids have a show like this to act as a runway into the Transformers fandom. Let me know if you grew up with Super Wings. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on the line, since I just did not grow up with these at all. Mobile Suit Gundam is one of the most famous franchises to ever come out of Japan, and is the poster boy for model kit toys in my mind. I've actually built a few Gundam model kits called Gunpla myself, and it's very relaxing. It really is like building Lego for adults. Not that adults can't build Lego, but it's probably harder for a little kid to build Gunpla. Until recently, the only Gundam thing I had ever watched was a Cartoon Network show called SD Gundam Force, which features cute chibi versions of Gundam that are popular to this day called SD, which stands for Super Deformed. Super Deformed has always been the funniest phrase to me. I had no idea that's what SD stood for in SD Gundam Force. But that show is completely out of canon, and the real Gundam is a lot more complicated. Gundam is similar to Dune to me because on the surface it seems really simple, but the more you dig in, the more you realize how deep the rabbit hole goes. The first Gundam series, Mobile Suit Gundam, was about the war between the Earth Federation and the Zeon Principality. The Zeons are people from space that declare their independence from Earth, which leads to a galactic civil war. The civil war leads to some massive casualties, like half of Earth's population straight up dies. The main characters are Amuro Ray with the Earth Federation, a brilliant young man who is naturally talented at piloting the Mobile Suit Gundam, which is Earth's answer to the Zeon's own powerful mobile suits. The other main character is Char Aznavour, an extremely talented pilot and leader working with the Zeon forces, though he has plans of his own. What's interesting to me is that the show did pretty bad when it first aired, but when Bandai released model kits of the mobile suits, the show got really popular. It's kind of a reverse situation of most 80s American cartoons, where the shows sold the toys. In Mobile Suit Gundam's case, the toys actually sold the show. With the Gundam's newly found popularity, Yoshiyuki Tomino, the creator of the original show, was able to make a sequel called Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam is a direct sequel to the first show and takes place 8 years after the end of the Civil War. But it's hardly peacetime, as the Earth Federation special task force called the Titans are running wild and oppressing people in space as a way to stomp out any remaining Zeon ideals. The Titans are truly institutionalized evil. They use nerve gas to kill an entire space colony for daring to speak against them. A rebellion called the Anti-Earth Union Group, shortened to the AUG, has formed against the Titans. Among the ranks of the AUG is Char Aznavour under a fake name, though it's extremely obvious it's him, and his identity is more of a secret to the characters in the show than the viewer. The main character of Zeta Gundam is Camille, a young man who comes off a lot like Amuro Ray from the first show. The main difference between Camille and Amuro is that Camille is some sort of sociopath. While Amuro hijacks a Gundam to save people, Camille hijacks the Mark II Gundam during an AUG raid to try and stomp on a military officer that punched him. Camille, like Amuro, is a naturally gifted pilot and called a new type, which is a type of human that are pseudo-psychics. Being a new type is very beneficial when piloting a Gundam because you have heightened mental and spatial awareness. Many non-new type pilots with much more experience are killed by Camille in combat due to his abilities. During the show, new advances in mobile suit technology are made, with transforming mobile suits changing the game mid-season. The titular Zeta Gundam is one of these transforming mobile suits, though it doesn't show up until the 21st episode, and doesn't actually transform until the 22nd episode. Story-wise, the mobile suit is designed by Camille, and takes a while for the engineers to put together. But in real life, apparently it took so long because the transformation and design is much more complicated compared to the other mobile suits. As a result, Camille uses the black-colored Gundam Mark II for the first 20 episodes of the season. And in some ways, this dark-colored mobile suit is another way Camille stands in contrast with Amuro Ray among their similarities. I've watched 10 full episodes and plan to watch more. The show is fantastic, and I can see why it hooked people way more than the original, though Gunpla's popularity can probably be given a lot of that credit as well. Anyway, apparently the use of transforming mobile suits was inspired by Transformers itself. According to an old Laserdisc set, some staff were interviewed and they mentioned that Tomino had Transformers tapes sent over to Japan to check it out. Tomino really liked the instant transformations of the Transformers and decided to have the mobile suits transform like that as well. You can really see it in the animation. The transformations are not a big spectacle, and they're often transformed in seconds, even faster than most Transformers animations. You need to remember, Transformers began to air in the US in 1984, and Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam came out in 1985. So the timeline matches up with this information completely, and is very cool because, as I understand it, many people thought the transforming mobile suits were inspired by Macross, another Japanese series about transforming robots, which would make perfect sense. The 1985 toy line for Mobile Suit Zeta Zeta Gundam only features one fully transforming Zeta Gundam toy, which actually wasn't a model kit, but a pre-built toy. This thing is essentially a masterpiece level transformer for 1985. We were over in the USA playing with Optimus Prime that transforms in like 8 steps or whatever, and Japanese children were living in the future. The 1985 Zeta Gundam is very charming, and though it's a bit puffy and simplistic compared to the show, the toy really captures the look and feel of the mobile suit in a cool vintage way. Now this is a toy from 1985 with a somewhat difficult transformation, so transforming the toy in the year of our Lord 2025 is like defusing a bomb. The Wave Runner mode is really solid as well, and it overall seems like a really awesome toy for the 80s. The transformation was a bit too complicated for model kits at the time, but over the years many of the transforming mobile suits have gotten their own model kits that actually transform, like this big MFer who is hilariously named Psycho Gundam. The mobile suit is called that due to its use of artificial new type technology, but it also really gets across that this dude is a menace. Psycho Gundam turns into a brick essentially, but like a really cool brick. Most of the transforming mobile suits alt modes are just robots bent in weird positions, so I do think their alt modes come off as samey or incoherent sometimes, but this guy, the Ashamar, is literally just Cosmos. Same color scheme, and he turns into a little UFO looking ship with some extra legs at the bottom. It's really funny how similar the Ashamar is to Cosmos though. I have to wonder if it's a direct inspiration from Transformers, or maybe both of the designers were inspired by the same thing. If anyone in the comments knows, please sound off. Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam is a really cool show from a long line of really cool shows, and I do plan to finish it. I have been wary of covering Gundam because it is a massive blind spot in my nerd knowledge, but I think this is a year I become a weeaboo, so it's a good time to get into it, and I look forward to investigating more series that involve transforming mobile suits. Tobot is a South Korean show and toy line that has been running in some form or another for a shocking 15 years. That's a really powerful brand presence. When it started to air in South Korea, I was entering high school. Tobot is owned and manufactured by Young Toys, with the original show being created by Retrobot Studios. I say original show because much like Transformers, Tobot has had a few iterations over the years. The first Tobot show ran from 2010 to 2016, with the movie released in 2017. The show was cancelled and the toy line was then rebooted as Tobot V, and the original animation studio Retrobot was replaced with Studio Button. Along with the new studio, the story of the original show was completely replaced, with only echoes of the original characters present. This was apparently a big deal in the Tobot fandom, as longtime fans hated the show and would be vitriolic towards it online. The best comparison I can make for Transformers fans is when Beast Wars showed up and G1 fans were throwing their truck not monkey-esque tantrums online. Much like the Transformers, adults whining about a children's cartoon online had little effect on Tobot V, and it ran for 3 seasons and had a well-received toy line. After Tobot V, Young Toys would hire Retrobot Studios again to continue the original Tobot show, now called Tobot: Daedo's Heroes. Daedo is the name of the city the show is set in, and the show takes place a few years after the original. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to skip Tobot V and cover it in a future video, simply because it really is its own thing from the main Tobot timeline. There was also a sports-focused spin-off called Tobot Athlon, which I will also cover in a future video. In this video, I'll talk about both the first series and the new series. Like I said, Tobot started in 2010, so the show is old at this point, and the animation does feel dated. In Tobot, we follow twin brothers Ryan and Corey, who are gifted transforming robot cars by their mechanical engineer father, Franklin. When I first watched the show, I was rolling my eyes pretty hard. The show felt extremely childish in a tedious way to me. I watched about 6 full episodes and then skipped through some others, and I have to say the show made a bad first impression, but after watching more, I think it's alright. Mostly because they introduced and tied up a story arc in the first 5 episodes, and shifted the dynamic of the show from there. The show starts off with the villainous CEO CEO of Burong Motors, named Limo, causing self-driving vehicles by other car manufacturers to crash, so more people would want to buy his cars to stay safe. Ryan and Corey's dad, Franklin, is kidnapped by Burong, and the twins must use their Tobots called Tobot X and Tobot Y to find him. The Tobots are completely created by Franklin and follow the orders of the twins, who can cause them to transform with their toe keys. It's kind of a bad system because there are times where the kids will lose their toe keys or be unable to reach their Tobots to transform them. Ryan and Corey have to work together to find their dad and solve the car crashes, but they're kind of Zack and Cody coded, with one being a lazier goofball and the other being a studious stick in the mud. One of the main themes of the show is them having to work together to get past their differences, especially when their Tobots combine into Titan Tobot, which takes orders from both of them. So conflicting orders like run away and attack just confuse Titan Tobot. The Tobots are also interesting because their personalities match their partners. Tobot X is Dylan's partner and tends to be quiet and focused, while Tobot Y is Corey's partner and has robot ADHD. Working together, the twins are able to save their dad and are able to put Limo in jail. There's actually some backstory revealed though, as the twins' dad and Limo worked together years before building the first Tobot, Tobot Zero. Some sort of accident happened and their building collapsed in fire, killing both of the men's wives. Tobot Zero's programming seemingly malfunctioned, and he didn't help them at all. After the fire, Franklin was left crippled and with amnesia for months, while Limo went off and started an automobile empire, while slowly losing it from grief. After that arc, a new villain takes over from where Limo left off, but surprisingly that isn't the end of his story. Later on in the series, Limo's adopted son, Dylan, appears. Dylan was hit by Limo's car and he lost both his arm and leg. Afterwards, Limo found out he was an orphan and adopted him, fitting him with robot prosthetics to give him enhanced strength and speed. Dylan is tricked by the villains into believing Franklin framed his father and uses his own Tobot Z to try and defeat Tobot X and Y. Eventually, Dylan finds out the truth and he joins the Tobot team. Limo eventually returns to the show after serving time in prison and comes back as a reformed man, much closer to his flashback appearances. The original show has like a lot of episodes and characters that I have not and will not talk about. I did want to highlight the original toys though. The first line of Tobot toys from 2010 are a little rough at this point. They are very close to the designs, but they tend to be a bit loose and fiddly to transform. Also, they turn into licensed Kia vehicles. This is never mentioned on the show to my knowledge, and the characters in the show don't have the Kia logo on their bodies like the toys. Tobot X turns into a Kia Soul, which I've seen like thousands of in my town. I don't know why they have such apparent Kia branding. Maybe it's to influence the parents, or maybe it's a long-term strategy to influence the kids. I don't know, it's hard to tell and both options seem dumb and pointless to me. I feel like the amount of people influenced to buy a car by this cartoon are in the single digits. There's also a combining Titan Tobot toy, but the vehicles don't transform into robots, just the combined mode limbs. This is fine to me because in the show they always transform from vehicle mode into combined mode, so this is kind of accurate to the character of Titan Tobot. Okay, that's a very brief overview of the original Tobot show and toys, mostly because I think talking about the newest series, Tobot Daedo's Heroes, would be much more relevant. Daedo's Heroes takes place years after the original show and acts as a soft reboot, with a very back-to-basics cast featuring the twins, Dylan, and their dads, along with Tobots X, Y, and Z. The designs look a lot better to me. The original Tobots had very blank faces, which can be cool with mysterious characters, but for Heroes it makes it a bit hard to connect emotionally. Their faces aren't super expressive, but at least they have eyes now. The animation has also drastically improved, with action scenes and villains that are more visually appealing. Also, I know I'm comparing a 2010 cartoon to one released in 2023, so of course it looks better, but I just feel like there's more style and developed ideas here. It kind of feels like the jump from Ben 10 to Ben 10 Alien Force to me. Along with the show, the toy line has also matured. Tobot X, Y, and Z have new vehicle modes, and they're not Kia branded. This time the Tobots turn into Hyundai vehicles. I don't know why the switch switch happened, but I will say I kinda like the Hyundai vehicles way more. They just look cooler to me, especially Tobot X and Y's alt modes. While Tobot X was mostly orange in the original series, his vehicle mode in this series is a very mute cream color. Maybe because the real vehicle he turns into doesn't have an orange option or something, though his orange comes out in robot mode. Tobot Y looks so cool, a very slim and tall robot highlighting his speed. The Tobots also have a new gimmick where their heads, along with the little body, can be removed. These are called their choroid forms. Their heads also switch to be even more expressive. This is a really fun gimmick and reminds me of Headmasters from Transformers. This feels like a modern version of that idea. There is also a combiner featuring the 3 main bots called Triton Tobot, and he looks a bit goofy to me. I don't know, the body just looks weird, a bit too long for the limbs, and wide in strange places. The show also introduces even more Tobots to the cast. My favorite new design has to be the Tobot Twin Punch, a Tobot that's made of 2 vehicles with 2 personalities, Hook and Jab. The cars combine to form the left and right sides of the Tobot. He has boxing gloves and can switch between Hook and Jab's heads. Their combination reminds me of one of my favorite Transformers animated characters, Safeguard, who is the combined form of Jetfire and Jetstorm. Tobot Twin Punch also combines with Tobot A and W to form the large and colorful Tobot Tetran. I like Tetran's look a lot more than Tritan's. The segmented colors just look way better to me. There are also Tobots that have some light up features like Tobot A here, whose headlights light up with the touch of an included item. Pretty cool stuff. The mainline Tobot toys are fairly large, but there are also the adorable Legends class option, as well as a medium size option that is kind of deluxe class sized for my Transformers fans. Tobot is interesting, but it didn't grip me like Metal Cardbot, though maybe I just haven't watched enough for it to really hook me. I think some of the designs are really cool, though I think it's kinda lame that they don't seem to make the villain robots, which also have cool designs. The slab. Sorry, I just wanted to be random XD for a second. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing, and if you want to support me past that, I have a YouTube membership. For $1 a month, you can get access to my member-exclusive Discord where we have monthly movie nights. On April 4th, 2025, at 6 p.m. EST, we're going to be watching the 1998 classic Blade as the first part of our pre-MCU Marvel movie series of watch parties. As previously mentioned, we're also going to be having Super Sentai and Kamen Rider nights on the server. We're going to be watching Osama Sentai King Oger on March 21st, 2025 at 5 p.m. EST, and Kamen Rider Geats on March 28th, 2025 at 5 p.m. EST. If that sounds fun to you, come aboard. We're building a lovely community on the server, and the watch parties have been so much fun. Alright y'all, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Ciao.